Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Good morning. Great to be here this morning. Thank you very much. Our President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, popularly called BAT, assumed office May 29, 2023. And it will interest you that by my own rating, I would say he has performed below my own expectation, truth be told, considering the pedigree of his personality. And this cuts across every structure of the economy when he actually took it. If you ask me, first and foremost, you look at the area of the statement he made the first day he took over office, which were just 3 words: subsidy is gone. We quite appreciate that fact of I'm an advocate of not bringing in subsidy into it, but you ask, what was the preparedness of you removing the subsidy and being able to augment things? We all saw the problem this has actually created on the part of our economy. So I feel within my own space to say I expected so much from Mr. President saying that statement and things he should be able to augment. I know we will come out to say we've had so much savings in terms of the income that we're able to generate from this subsidy. But do we have that impact on the life of the citizen we are living? The answer is no. So much money were made available to the state government from the RAFAC, which is the revenue mobilization stuff. But the truth of it is that you are giving so much money to the states, but the cost of things were really not out there. So what a governor we used 1 billion to do before now, before the removal of subsidy, even if you give him 10 billion, he may not be able to do it because a lot of things are done. So if you look at that, that's just one aspect of the several. When you talk in terms of education, we've heard about promises. We are having 1 year. The loan scheme is yet to be implemented for students to even have access to it. And people like me have actually questioned that loan, it's good for the student, but what about the infrastructure? Both from primary to secondary to tertiary institution that most of us enjoyed, even Mr. President, while we're growing up. It beat people's imagination there, and I keep emphasizing it. I'd never attended a private school. I attended a public school, which we happen to be beneficiary of the policy of Chief Lateef Jakonde in Lagos State. And today we are better off for rate, not with the hardship that we have. People are paying through their nose for their education of their children. If it's what we're facing now that my own parent faced, I don't think I'll be able to go to school. And when you talk about the economy, we've seen the volatility of the foreign exchange not been steady since the assumption of this administration, which has impacted on the manufacturing, which has impacted on the service sector. So you discover that with the preparedness of a man we call President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a vast man, technocrat, before he became a politician, I expected so much that would have impacted on the citizen. But the last 1 year to me has not been interesting. But what we keep hearing is that we are cooking something in the pot. Maybe when it starts unfolding, the next 3 years, we'll start seeing the impact of it. But for me, it has not created so much impact, but a lot of hardship on the citizen, which we don't consider as one of the benefits of democracy, which he stands for and what we know him for. Yeah, thank you very much. I would say one that we miss the area of power too. Power is very strategic and germane to economic growth. If you look at the developed climate where we travel to, nobody bothers about electricity. Nobody bothers about power. As a matter of fact, the major area of power are being utilized by those countries. When you talk about renewables, talked about the power from the grid. I remember in Germany where they are actually begging people to make use of supply because they have to dig out. I think we missed it in that area, and I don't know what the president is doing. We cannot be talking of increasing the cost of things without putting the basic infrastructure. I asked people the issue of introduction of band A, band B, and band C. Have we increased our generation in such a way that the band A can be given more supply so that those in band B to D or band E can still enjoy the basic thing that you promised to them? But the answer is no. We still rave between the 2,700 megawatt to 3,300, which is not even sufficient if you want to make it. So we've asked that, can we ramp up the issue? We've been told that we have capacity to generate up to 8,000 megawatts. The government is still the one managing transmission, being unable to wield out some of those things. And then when you talked about the distribution arm, I think there's still a missing link. Cyril, I can tell you for free, if they decide to give 24-hour supply to certain area in this country, their transformer will just explode because the infrastructure is dilapidated, it's outdated, it's overstretched. Some has been on for over 25, 30 years without, they've just been revamping and maintaining it. And when privatization was there in 2013, part of the focal thing is to work on infrastructure. And we've seen that gap. We still see organized companies, we still see communities, buying, assets themselves, transformers, poles, and the likes for them to have access to the national grid, which is against the things that they promise us. So aside the volatility of the foreign exchange and the subsidy removal, I think we need to concentrate more. Most of our artisans that are supposed to be working are riding bike because there is no power supply for them to work. If you are able to provide power supply, I can tell you, it will impact on your health sector. It will impact on your education. It will impact on the economy itself. I'm sure you read about a man that said he had a mug in Port Harcourt, and within a month, when they increased him on band A, he had to be paying as much as 250-something million as bill. And that was massive. He said, where will he get that from? So you discover that if you're able to spread the cost and you're able to provide, as far as I'm concerned, the issue of increasing the cost of band A is that you are taking from those that are in the band, what some people have tagged bandit group. Because though some people have said they are not in A, they are not in B, they are not in C, they are not in D, they are not in E. They are either in bandage or they are in bandit because they don't get supply. At times, 1 week, 2 weeks, I spoke to somebody in a particular place in Oyo State and said the last time they saw light was even over a month. So what band are you going to call those people? Because what we heard is that from 0 to 4 hours is about band E, 4 to 8 hours is on D, 8 to 12 is on C. Yeah, I think the missing link is monitoring some of the promises that these people have given. If you can monitor, if you have somebody who actually watch what you're doing to say you promised this, you promised that, can we go back to the drawing board when this privatization was to be done? What were the promises? How much of those promises have you been able to achieve in making sure that we provide some of those basic infrastructure expected of you? You can talk, one of the areas that we still consider the gap is metering. I'm sure a lot of people are grappling to have meter in their houses so that they can have accurate billing for them to know what they are actually consuming. The gap is still there. From the last count, we have over 5 million customers yet to be metered. So I feel it's not taking over some of those things. It's to go back to drawing board, put the performance key index there and see how much they fare in terms of the promises that they gave years back when they were being privatized. And if they are unable to, a lot of them has actually been taken over by AMCON. Who are the new people actually buying over this disco? Do they have the technical skill? Do they have the financial capacity to actually exhibit some of the things expected of them? I think that's because if you say take it over or give it back to the government, I'm not an advocate of government taking over part of this thing because government is not in the business of doing business. They are just to provide the regulations and guide and create the enabling environment. Leave it in the hands of the private sector. But even if you are putting it there, you must be able to monitor so that you can guide the area of exploiting the consumers who are your citizens and also be able to guide them to fulfill some of the promises. That I think that's the area that we just need to look into. Yeah, in the last 1 year, to my own knowledge, I would say that we've not fared well. We've had so much promises without any input. Rather, we see disengagement of some of these foreign companies that have been in existence for over 20 years exiting. And the disheartening thing is that they are actually going to neighboring countries to carry out. I'm sure you heard about the exit of Microsoft too, leaving the shore of our country. I think our major problem in that area is the inconsistency in the policy of the government that do not give assurance of what these foreign investors will get over time. As a finance person, we always have this projection of saying, this is your 5-year projection. I tell you, you can't even project for 5 days as a business owner these days, because what is the rate today? What will be the rate tomorrow? What will be the impact of the policy of the government in terms of availability? We just came out of the issue of fuel scarcity. I was in Abuja for a very short while, and I asked myself, those days you go to Abuja and you see cabs for like 400, 500 to everywhere you're going. The last time, this is my last visit, I exposed a lot of things where you'll be talking of a cab taking as much as 4,000, 5,000 for a distance that we used to pay 3,500. So the impact of it on the economic too, even the transportation, every of those things will be transferred. So I feel that we've not seen so much of those things. It's more of promises. And I can tell you the environment is still not conducive for business owners. You see, when you talk about foreign direct investment, don't forget that we have the quota system. They are still going to collaborate with Nigerian counterparts to say, okay, we have been on ground. Take, for example, somebody coming to the power sector. If he's bringing those investments, he look at those organizations who are currently existing, see how they can collaborate with them. Because if you are coming in as FDI, it's not going to be 100% ownership. You still have Nigerians to have a buy-in. And you need those technical, these foreign countries do not believe in mediocrats. They want those that have understanding so that they can actually look for way to recoup their funds. So if those local content is really not viable, how are you going to have guarantee of some of those things that you're actually investing in the country? So that is the missing link that I'm saying. You need to strengthen our local organization in such a way that they can have good handshake and they will not be seen as being overwhelmed, or you are acquiring them as you're coming. You can see them a bit strong, and that will give them a very positive power of speaking to those FDIs rather than them coming to look as if you are their mercy for them to assist you. So most of those policies is make a good number of visits, but to now, I can tell you that I have not seen any. The level of unemployment and inflation keep increasing, and that on its own, I can tell you most organizations keep retrenching every now and then because the cost of operating, a particular organization is not there. Imagine somebody running on diesel. We've heard Dangote coming to give us promises or commitment that they've reduced the cost of diesel and aviation jet. I was in Abuja that we used to fly about 30-something thousand, 40,000. I traveled to Abuja spending as much as 180,000 a return ticket. So imagine that, putting that cost on the business that you are actually out there to do. It's going to increase it. So aviation fuel is on the high side. The diesel for businesses to run. I remember those days I traveled to Abuja in the morning. I come back later in the evening. But these days, can you try that? I said you want to transfer that cost to it. So you discover that the high cost of things is actually impacting on the growth of every businesses. And when those things are not there to make them, competitive enough, they look to be at the mercy of the foreign direct investors coming in, and that is really not too good for our economy. Well, my last word to the president is that so much is expected of him, and the citizens are actually watching. I think we need to focus more in monitoring the activities of things that we are actually doing. How much are we doing? You see, he worked in the private sector, and there is this thing we call the KPI, the Key Performance Index. How much are we working on those that are heading the agencies, the ministries, to actually say that they've actually delivered to some of the promises that we have given to our people? If you ask me to rate all the ministers, I think it's only one minister that people will say is actually working. A lot of them it's been more of silent, and nobody is asking questions on some of the things because their deliverable are supposed to be visible, even without them going to the dailies. Even the one that we are celebrating, which is the Minister of Interior, is just one of the several that is supposed to deliver that we are actually working on, which is just the area of integrating the passport, making it easier. What of other aspects of the Interior Ministry? So I feel that if you allow me to be, the president needs to monitor the activity of the people. The lieutenant, we have the Adiza Uzma, who is the coordinating officer to monitor the performance. We have not had any report since that office was set up. We are waiting maybe by May 29, when we'll be marking the 1-year anniversary, we hear that. But I think we need more monitoring. A lot of lapses that nobody is actually checkmating. And when you discover that, throw this out, nobody is asking questions, you throw it out the second time, it becomes a norm. And everybody followed that path. We believed, let me say I still believe in Mr. President, because of some of the things we consider he has done. But there seems to be a gap from some of the promises and the reality. And so much is being expected from the citizen. It's a country we believed in because we have the resources, we have the human capital, even we have the finances to make things happen. The only thing we are lacking is the structure and the system on which some of those things can ride on to make Nigeria great again. If you're able to get that right, I can tell you that a lot of our people that have actually moved out of the shore of this country will come back because of the enormity of some of the things that we have as a nation.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.